Alex Ansary here in the south part of Colorado, not too far from a town called Walsenburg, Colorado. It is May 11th, 2015. Just a quick update on life in the RV, life on the go, and what things have been like since leaving Portland. It's still an adjustment to the change in altitude, to the change in energy. And for me, one of the things that I am working to accomplish is a sense of being present wherever I am. Being able to breathe in deeply and feel a sense of peace on the road. That's not an easy thing for anyone as sensitive as me, or anyone even more sensitive for that matter. And so, I feel the differences in energy in the different places that I visit. Having said that, I want to talk about being comfortable. For a lot of us, the goal is to be comfortable, to find a place to be, to reside, and settle down. Is it really in our nature to settle down? And I think that there are times in my life where I like settling down, whether it be for a few months or a few years or simply a few days. But ultimately, in my base nature, and perhaps yours as well, change is what we really crave. Maybe not too much change, and maybe not change that we would consider negative change or change that brings us misery, but change is reality. And constant change is the only constant reality in this matrix. So being able to adjust to change and being able to understand, I've referenced the Chinese parable, good luck, bad luck. There's more than one way to look at a situation or circumstance, whether it be a positive one or negative one. So when we look at it years down the line, or look at it from another perspective entirely, perhaps another perspective other than our own, because our own bias can cloud the truth. My own as well. My own perspective on things changes when I'm in different places. I certainly do a lot more videos when I'm in Portland. I'm certainly a lot more introspective. And it's not that I'm disconnected from my spirit in Portland, but in Colorado, I feel a lot more, an aspect of me feels a lot more centered. Now, when we're comfortable, though, there's a time to rest. And there's also when we forget to push ourselves and create regular goals, and even if those goals don't come to fruition, to be in a state of creation, not in a state of decay. To be in a state at least of spiritual wealth, to be in an energetic space of moving forward. And that is what is most important, and we all have that ability. Being in certain environments, being in certain circumstances, it can certainly be challenging for us to be in a sense of peace, or to want to be present in our environment, or to take a deep breath. I mean, what if the breath is full of exhaust from moving vehicles and screaming people and screaming children? Excuse me as I take a drink of some fish food. This is actually spirula. The company is Health Force One. A lot of the stuff doesn't taste good, but the stuff from Health Force One is good. And I wouldn't mind actually having some more of this. I actually just put a little bit of that stuff in this. And, it looks like there's a lot more in there than you would think. That's probably 1 tablespoon of spirula. Well, Health Force One is actually a combination of lots of organic greens that have been put through this process, this organic process, and our skin needs this, our health needs this, our minds need this, and healthy food, of course. And when people are in environments where they're rushing from point A to point B, and they're working, and they're on a limited income, and they're surrounded by cell phone towers, and they're surrounded by smart meters, and they're surrounded by all these things, are they going to be in a really healthy state of mind, body, and spirit? Well, let's talk about the body. When the body is constantly being put under stress and being depleted of its base minerals, nutrients, because of some other deficiency, it causes a draining on the body, on the overall holistic system. They're going to be eating more junk food. They're going to be eating more candy. They're going to be eating more things that are unhealthy because their body is trying to catch up and get back those minerals, those nutrients that have been lost, or to bring the body some form of relief or pleasure because of the stress that it's currently under. And then the path of going out in nature and getting away from all things that you can blame things on, that's a very introspective, personal space that I visited multiple times in my life before this, where it's only you and the universe, and there's no one to blame. It's just trying to somehow find a sense of peace in this world with what we know or with what we feel. And some of us go out in these exodus adventures where we get away from it all, but we're really not getting away from what we need to be looking at, and that's what we're doing here. And, questioning our existence here, and tapping into that sense of, wow, my life is half over or a third over. This life is very, very temporary. These concepts are not new to me. They just come at me really strong every couple months to every couple of years, the sense of how transitory and temporary this lifetime is in a sea of lifetimes, and how much has changed in my life in you could say the last few weeks, but really the last few years, and the need to continue to push ourselves forward and evolve beyond these false understandings of what we are and what society tries to project into us what we are. This video series, a lot of people don't understand it, and I lose people. I actually see people get almost demonic or archonically possessed when I start going on these travel adventures. Not so much lately, because I noticed it's when I project that I'm in a state of weakness that these evil forces, some call them trolls, it really stems from an evil, more sociopathic, psychotic place where people attack you when you're low. But it's like I'm really understanding this truth more and more, as you should as well. As I look at, wow, it's really been quiet lately. I'm not being attacked by people. That's interesting. And I compare that to other times when I was in the desert, expressing my frustration at isolation when I was in Colorado, living in the middle of nowhere, 40 miles from the closest town, no running water, no major solar panels, 122 watt and a marine grade battery and inverters to keep me somewhat maintained with an iPod and a computer, which I built a solar flare presentation on that won the Free Mind Conference, all built on that laptop right there. That's been through hell and back. It's got a cracked screen. Anyway, I was already out in the middle of the desert in that sense of isolation, having to deal with my own feelings, having to deal with the silence. And as I talked about in those videos, a big part of going off the grid isn't physically how to go off grid. That's a part of it. And that's the easier part. The bigger aspect is the psychological component. The psychological component of going off grid is abandoning the city and the ways of more than the city. More than the city. Because you have people that go off grid that bring programming from Babylon, violent video games, mindless entertainment, mass media they can watch with their satellite dish. They can sit there with enough solar panels and just veg out. That's what I'm getting back at in the point I'm trying to make, and I'm bouncing around here, but I'm going to make a few points. When we're comfortable and we've got all our needs met at the moment, we become complacent. And so in my own personal journey towards greater evolution and trying to, learn more about this world, it requires travel. It requires putting myself in different circumstances and continuing to output information, share information from those places as I feel out those energies, and one could say, try to remain grounded through the whole experience. And one needs to be grounded when they're traveling and going up to higher elevations and lower elevations. Although it feels more like a party when you're going from the higher elevations into the lower elevations. I mean, literally, the body wants to mate, the body wants to party, the body wants to drink. And then the higher disciplined self, as opposed to the lower self or the primitive self, is the one that can be in the driver's seat to maintain a sense of equilibrium throughout the experience. So our bodies are going to feel the highs and the lows, the feelings of pleasure and the feelings of tension or stress, if you will, as our brain is literally put under stress from the elements. There's a stronger part of ourself that can keep us balanced throughout the whole experience. So I'm not a super healthy person. People, maybe I am. I don't know. People tend to think that, all I eat is really healthy food all the time. And I try. But I fall back on frozen pizzas. I fall back on foods that have gluten in them. And the friend that I stayed with in Idaho, I think that everybody that we meet, everybody that befriends us or we befriend, there's some sort of, or a series of teachings that need to occur. And it can happen in a matter of hours, or an hour, or less than an hour. I think that oftentimes when men and women meet each other for these blind dates and they hit it off intellectually, they share information, but there's nothing physical, it's because they really weren't meant to meet for the sexual encounter. They were meant to meet to share ideas and information. And I've had many, many, many experiences like that in my lifetime in Portland, Oregon, where there was a sharing of information. That's all that needed to occur. Well, this friend that I visited in Idaho, he kept talking about gluten and its effect on mood. And in general, I know how I'm so easily affected by my environment, which includes, and I'm already starting to feel hungry, how I'm affected when I eat, when I don't eat, what I eat, and whether I drink coffee or not, how much coffee, what kind of coffee, whether I'm balancing that activity out with other hydrating activities like drinking water, of which we should do more, but of the right kind of water. We don't want to be drinking fluoridated water. We don't want to be drinking water with a bunch of metallic particles in it that isn't maybe being reported on our own locale or some other contaminant. It's important to drink good, healthy water and have a healthy diet full of things that involve basic nutrition. I know that a lot of us struggle with that because we are inundated with so many options at times in this country, and most of you are watching from the Western world. For those of you that are watching from China, I guess there is a few from Asia that have contacted me that have watched this channel. Some of you, if you're in a dense population center, you have access to the fast food, to the Burger King, to the Western corporations that have been imported there. We actually do have a viewer from Singapore. But, there still is that traditional connection to noodle dishes and rice. But with GMO and all the stuff going on with Monsanto, the basic nature of food globally has changed dramatically. And a lot of us know in the Western world, we can see the long-term effects of this GMO. And so there are options. In fact, I would say at times it seems like there are too many options. And a lot of us can identify with that when we go to the grocery store, and I see as I travel throughout America how all this food is just the same. And we know that, but to see it, and also see how society is the same, the men and the women and the men in these different small towns to big cities, it could be a drain on one's emotional center. But that's why for years, I'm trying to steer people away from this hysteria of waiting for people to, quote, wake up or get it, or this collective shift in consciousness. In reality, as I'm going through this experience myself, in order to learn more about it, survive it, and help teach others, it's about surviving the ongoing zombie spiritual apocalypse that's already taking place, already taking many of our brothers and sisters with it, with that apocalyptic storm of this collective hive mind infection of the human species. Something's going on, and it's evident in the news, in looking at anything dealing with society today, violent crime, gangs, these staged wars, and how easily they're able to get people to go out and fight, kill, behead, rape, join armies. And I've talked for years about the effects of the solar flares over these world events and how the dark occultists launch certain events when things are moving. We're seeing it all now. And this is not the first time that I've seen major changes during solar flares, or more specific, that I've been moving or in a state of major change or flux in my own life when there's literally magnetic flux. Change in Alex's life, change in the sun. Change in the Earth's magnetic field, geomagnetic storms, solar storms, Alex moving, Alex going through things. My own life. This is how I learned about these things. This was my, because I didn't know about the solar flares, but I'm like, there is this like cycle I started figuring out by the age of 16, 17, 18, I was already reading Eastern thought and familiar with the concept of a cycle. But a 6 to 7 year cycle and a 9 to 13 year cycle, basically, which is the cycle of the sun. But first, it was the smaller cycles, and noticing it's like, okay, I go through about 2 major things every solar cycle. And it's like it all seems to be connected to evolving as a human being. But on a macrocosmic level, yeah, all these things, these changes, which is the only constant, it's a part of this greater evolution, regardless of whether it seems positive or negative at the time. The potential for World War III, the potential for a solar flare kill shot, boom, all electronics gone. But people are afraid of that, but they're also afraid of the technology, of the robot takeover, the Google robots. Everything about Google now, though, with our websites and YouTube owning the website that you're watching this on now, and this ongoing issue with mankind and technology. So, doing this vlog here from Southern Colorado, wrapping things up. It's definitely good to be looking at some of those larger events from a perspective of outside Portland as something so West Coast, something so close to where a lot of the people are that are being infected consciously by the propaganda, by the staged events, but also by traveling to some of these smaller towns and smaller cities and seeing the similarity in food and pop culture and magazines and everything else that you can't imagine. There is no escape from the Babylonian consciousness and frequency. So really, it's a matter of doing what you need to do to have a healthy mind, body, and spirit, whether it be traveling, changing your diet, changing what you focus on, turning off the mass media. It's so much far greater than just simply living the free lifestyle and going off grid or quitting your job. That's a part of it and a very critical part of it. But you can be someone that has a family that hasn't necessarily gone their own way, that's a part of society, and still be on the conscious path. And you can have people out there that have gone their own way, that have quit their own job, that are that have completely turned into complete degenerates, and have used the comforts of the world of no responsibility, do whatever you want, to basically prolong their own evolution by trying to avoid challenges and trying to make sure everything's about being comfortable. They stay stuck, and that is a much deeper conversation. All the people that are chasing the comforts of this world, the comforts of the city, and they have confused, as I've talked before, happiness. Being happy in the moment, being in a state of pleasure, ecstasy, with evolving as a soul. It's in my nature to constantly question what does it actually mean to evolve as a soul, and to question my own existence on a deeper, more profound level, and to understand my whole life kind of on a deeper level of how I got to where I am now, but to really kick things into the next level as I feel like I'm getting ready to go into another phase of my life. Obviously, leaving Portland was a big part of it, and moving forward in some really positive directions, regardless of what happens to be manifesting on the newswire. You know, I could sit there and look at news that other people take pretty personally and actually repost it without having a strong emotional reaction to it. It doesn't happen every time. There's some things that have just had me spinning, especially when it seems like it's a personal attack or personal threat, or something that basically confirms my concerns that, oh, wow, things are really moving in a certain direction. You know, this guy walks out who's of Iraqi descent, boom, shot in the head a couple months ago. You know, increase in attack on people that look a certain way in this country. Then fear pops up on primitive instinctual level. Yes, your concerns that things are building up to a certain level that people are so impacted by the CNN and Fox News and other propaganda that they will be affected by that mind control to do violence to innocent people. Or they try to skew things, create a false flag in Texas like they did recently in Garland to really freak people out. What I can feel is that these shock tests keep going on, but they're not all working. They're not all working, but it doesn't mean that we're out of the forest because they're not working doesn't mean that the New World Order is panicked or something. But there's a series of these shock tests of this psyops against the people of the world, not just the American people, to constantly be afraid of what they're going to be doing next. And it's a very problematic situation that we're looking at without a clear solution how to just cut the head off the beast, because I don't think it works that way. For me, it's more or less, what are we even doing in this type of matrix? What type of positive contribution can we make to this reality to reverse some of this damage? Again, coming back to that question, what are we doing here? How do we get out on a deeper level? There is a bigger picture than what we can see on our hands, in front of our face. There is, I swear, I can feel, there is a much bigger picture, how things work, how synchronicities work, how people end up in certain situations, how people get out of certain situations. And there's this loud megaphone, speaker, PA system of this matrix. It's within your head, it's within my head. They'll try to pop up and tell us that's not the truth. Everything is random. There's no point in being good. There's no point in trying to do anything. The only thing that matters is staying stuck in a physical, primal, self-pleasure, self-worship, self-deceiving, if you will, state of mind. There's some sort of weird tape in the collective mankind that somehow is able to come to an agreement with this fallacy or falsehood. We all must do that work ourselves to turn out that voice of deception that tells us this is all there is, nothing else out there matters, other people don't matter, hurting people is the good thing to do. Somehow we're building upon our energy field or our world by rushing through, smashing things, and having a false sense of no repercussions for our actions, or a false sense that good things don't come to us when we help others. I've lived my life a certain way, and I've had to let's just say I've survived certain things, and I've been in certain positive situations where things keep moving forward in my mind only because of the work that I've done. If I was running around hurting people, getting involved in deception to get people's money towards some sort of product that doesn't exist, that will break after you buy it, there's a lot of examples to get you to subscribe to something for a ridiculous amount of money every month and then leave you going, what was that? My password doesn't even work. You know, there's so many people that their whole lives are about making money by getting people to, you know, succumb to that call to action, to sign up, to get into debt, to get into that monthly payment, you know, to get that credit card number. Like, that's their life, is being a parasite. And they're being a parasite off of this parasitic system, which itself is parasitic. So they're parasiting off of a parasite. And there's so many people that have become bloated energetically with weird energy as a result of this experience, men and women that are not real full men and women, that it's really toxifying for some of us to even be around that, hence traveling off grid periodically. For a period of time, to heal from whatever exposure to the zombie apocalypse, you know, may do to us or may have done to me, only to come back out from the mountain, to go back into society, back into population, and go, here's what I just shared, here's what I just got here's my download, here's what I just contemplated for the last couple of months. Here, go ahead and laugh at it, but I'm going to use the technology. I'm not saying you, I'm just saying that loosely. You know, that people can laugh at our downloads, at our teachings, but there's something powerful about getting away from society, to getting away from that influence of the signal and tapping into your own signal, which is a receiver-transmitter. All human beings are receiving and transmitting their signals, or what's really going on with their psyche, higher or lower. So by getting away from the mass signal of mass consciousness and the artificial grid and all that it entails, that's the real power and purpose of going off grid or going out in nature or camping, is to tap into that inner sight, the inner sense of peace, that inner sense of power, that inner sense of knowing, that inner gratitude, that inner knowledge. Bury it away. Just move the things that are there. Move the things that are there like this is some sort of smartphone or iPhone, and you're moving away the dirt, and you're cleaning that sight. And so these are things for people to think about, because I see a lot of mass consciousness out there that has really infected people, that a lot of people that profess that they're awake. And really what's happened is that these systems of evil that control so many sources of media and so many human beings that have allowed themselves to be consumed by the spirit of evil that is on this earth, a lot of people have forgotten their power and have been disconnected from their power. The dark side of conspiracy theory is this false reality that the real gods are those controlling the New World Order, and that all this is just some petri dish that we can't escape. That there is no soul aspect to this. We're just these biological androids that might as well be clones already. The property, if you will, of the Nephilim or Anunnaki. So there is a lot of deception that has been brought out to the population, ancient aliens being one of them, and they have had their way with the inquisitive, curious imagination of the human population that has childishly looked towards some of these media outlets for inspiration, entertainment, or a sense of, wow, finally they're talking about it. They're talking about what? That we are literally the slaves of these other, and I don't mean that something's not going on. I mean that there's a part of our sovereignty that we need to understand, a part of our power. We need to understand how to protect ourselves, what we're even doing on this realm, what we need to learn. Because if we're just in a state of being a slave on a plantation, an urban plantation, and if someone actually believes that they try to go off grid, that someone's going to come after them or their kids, because a lot of the news stories that you read out there are designed to keep you in the cage voluntarily, just so you're aware of this. That the cage is actual non-physical, it's psychological. People need to deal with those psychological chains that are basically keeping them in what I consider to be danger zones. Once the switch gets pulled and they move forward with their plans for the stage-managed world war, a lot of the cities on the west and east coast are not going to be safe. And it's not practical for people to be running to the Rocky Mountains or running to Wyoming or running to these rural areas or running to North Dakota or running to parts of Kansas or running to parts of Colorado or running to parts of New Mexico all at the same time to build their Earthship once it becomes very clear that it's going down. A lot of you have already been given the warning, and you will either be in those major cities when those events change, or you will have an intuitive feeling or hit that it's time to go. But even if you're not even on the level, or even willing to believe, or are offended by the fact that I even have these beliefs or understandings that we are heading that direction, at some point, even if we're not heading that direction, I want people to know that there is no harm in claiming your freedom when you lose your job and experiencing a different life, because you can always go back. You can always go back to the way that things were, to your day job or going back to your particular field. How much stability or pleasure, I mean, it feels nice to be able to have your own shower. I mean, it feels nice to be able to have your own place. But it also feels nice to be able to really appreciate those things when you don't always have those things available to you. You know, when you've had to find other ways to clean yourself, when you've had to find other ways to entertain yourself, when you've had to find other ways to care for yourself and there's no one else to care for you, either a loved one or family. When you have to come up with unique ways to keep yourself in shape when there's no gym around, or no free weights around, or teachers around, to literally be your own self-directed cheerleader, coach, mentor, Miyagi. To bring in your high self as your Miyagi and keep you on the path, keep you on the straight and narrow, if you will. And it helps to have a sense of responsibility. For me, for example, even before I left Portland, I was posting to amtvmedia.com. It's an exchange between the webmaster, the owner of that website and mine, and myself. Exchange of energy. I get paid a certain amount, and I keep pumping news onto his website that relates to his genre, what he covers. And it has been a very grounding experience for me. This is one of the things that I meant to talk about. And also one of the reasons I'm not doing a ton of videos, whining about stuff or complaining about stuff, because I'm doing something productive for me. It's allowing me to project my focus and energy into something. Running this person's website that takes about 4 hours a day. In fact, I need to start doing that as soon as this video starts, the beginning of 4 hours of work. I'm also working on my own website. I might as well tell you now, thedailymatrix.com, where I am posting news that I find on the web that relates to the genre of news that I cover. Space, weather, geopolitics, probably some off-the-grid news, perhaps some spiritual and social commentary that I'll be writing and adding to the website. But all that information I'll be announcing on this YouTube channel as my own new website evolves and develops. But working 4 hours a day for this individual, not 5 days a week, but 6 days a week, posting articles to his website and doing the data work, adding the SEO, and learn about search engine optimization, which I never looked at on a more deeply level, and going, this could really help me by building my new website, reach people with certain information, certain ideas, not just on YouTube, but do it a little bit more strategically. So through this experience, I've been learning more about SEO, getting more enthusiastic about website design, and again, being able to look at information relating to things that are going on in the world right now and not being freaked out about it. Being able to really separate, if you will, from the what is of that reality, while posting and getting the hyperlinks and adding the keyword search terms and adding the tags and adding the picture and making sure the picture, so it's really been a good balance of left and right brain activity. A lot of you are familiar with Mark Passio, and I've also made reference to left-right brain imbalance and how our environments can dramatically throw us off, as well as our programming and other things, not being in a balanced, healthy mind, body, and spirit, that can all throw us out of a left-right brain balanced situation into an imbalanced situation, causing emotional disturbances. And so it's really been a experience in balancing that left and right brain by using my own creativity to find the news headlines and then doing the actual work, left brain, of putting it onto the website and giving it the SEO information, all that really boring stuff, and then going back into the creative, intuitive space to go, okay, this is the next headline to post. This is the next headline to post, all the while doing it on the go without basically a set base or office. I mean, it was just a few months ago that I was thinking about an office in Portland and actually doing this on the go in these different environments where there are different energies, different vibes, if you will. So that's basically where I'm going to conclude this video. It's been a very interesting experience overall to maintain that focus, a sense of responsibility, not getting too comfortable, and yet claiming my own freedom, being on this path, not knowing actually where I'm going, what the next city is, what the circumstances will be, what the energy will be, just being in the moment and getting as much done as I can with what I'm working on in this particular project, the new website and the other person's website, and preparing basically a whole new series of videos that are probably to follow of both my commentary and current world events, and I'll be getting to those videos later. But also just things that I'm thinking about along the road, updates, other things of that nature. I'm really grateful to have bought a really decent RV for the money. It was several $1,000s, more than $2,000, but a lot less than what a lot of people out there are willing to pay, that are paying $10,000 and $15,000. It does have a leaky roof. That does need to be patched up, but for the most part, it's in pretty decent working order. And it might be something that's with me for a long, long time. And that's one of the reasons I'm not showing you the outside of it or the model of it, is because there are certain people that do that, but because of the nature of what I talk about, this is not some RV travel YouTube channel. If you look at the past of this channel, that's not what the subject matter is. The subject matter that I've covered over the years, though, has played a part in me feeling socially exiled, which at this point I take as a compliment, because it is not a sign of being very healthy to be well adjusted to a pretty perverted, sick, demented, bloodthirsty society. I almost feel complimented that all these sick elements of the world have wholeheartedly rejected me. And so that reality is really coming home full circle, that it's not such a bad thing that I've been pushed out of, or so I felt, or so I feel, pushed out of some of these darker, dense population centers, including the workplace today, which is not a very happy place. So I'm really fortunate, and I take it as a sign that I got this RV at the time that I did, as quickly as I did, that I had the means to get the RV, and now I've really been in this state of centering, of preparing to go to the next step in my life, of creating that and actually making these videos as I am now, in an environment where other people might be hearing me, not being shy to complete the thought, to not being so shy about who I am and what I am, to let that confidence shine. But at the same time, I am not going out there handing out business cards. I am not going out there trying to recruit viewers. I am not going out there even really doing much marketing at all for myself, but just using my intuition, making the videos, stepping back from mass consciousness within society, but also trying to impact mass consciousness with what I'm doing with the technology of the computers, and being able to upload videos and develop websites and write articles, using the technology for a mindful purpose to help unlock minds, and doing it all the while without a base of operations, without family, if you will, without a special person in my life, without any of those things, just continuing to do it, continuing to expand, continuing to grow, and continuing to publish videos. And with that, I will see you in the next video.